Hello and welcome back to DeadMooseGaming, and today this year's video is going to be on Total War Warhammer 3, a game which I'm yet to feature on the channel because for a long time I don't think it warranted it because it wasn't good enough. This game released with the Realms of Chaos in a quite simply abysmal state. It was not very fun to play at all, but now Immortal Empires has been out for a while and has seen some updates. I think it's actually getting to where it should be as a game. And with that being said, I am using a faction which was already in the game for Warhammer 3. In fact, it's all the way back from the first Warhammer Total War game, the Vampire Counts, although they have received a very nice facelift in the form of changes to Helm and Gorst and Mannfred von Carstein. The actual faction I'm using is Helm and Gorst, but because I use the Confederate Legendary Lords and Heroes mod, I managed to get Mannfred von Carstein without too much difficulty. And as for Mannfred's army, it's quite standard, just a spam of Graveguard as they're cheaper with Mannfred, so I feel like for the theme I'll use them instead of zombies, even though they're still a lot more expensive. I've got two Necromancers on an Unholy Lodestone, and I've got a Mortis Engine, just for the buffs they give, the heals and the damage that the Mortis Engine deals to nearby enemies. And I have a Garrison here, which is very beat up. It's not really going to do much, except for stall the enemy, as you'll see later. I've also got a White King. This is the legendary hero you get with not von Carstein, with Mannfred von Carstein's faction, which reduces upkeep, so I embedded him into the army too. As for Mannfred himself, he's got Wind of Death, Spirit Leech, Engagement with the Gash, but he's also got Life Leeching and the Curse of Undeath for extra wins and passive healing whenever he casts spells. And of course he's got some ward save and stuff here, and spell mastery coming from Great Arcane Conduit, more reserves from Sword of Unholy Power, and he also gets, if I can find it, Master of the Black Arts for some extra spell mastery when it's required, and the Black Periapt for more wins generation. As for my enemy, the Skaven, they are going true Skaven style with a massive spam. But first, let's have a look at this Wind of Death, shall we? Up to 260 kills after that, which, as you'll see, isn't actually that great for a Wind of Death. He's going to have no trouble dealing with these chaff units. Although they do have Dread Spears, which is quite interesting, but they're down to 80 health, so they're not going to be very much use. But yes, there's 3 full armies coming in. I have turned off control large armies, so they will be staggered, which works in my favour, ultimately, I do believe. And for the meantime, Mannfred's going for this hero, the Lord rather than the Master Assassin. But targeting's still a bit dodgy in this game, so I have to let that slide. But look at this. These Skaven are walking into the Valley of the Shadow of Death right now. What is this reinforcement, honestly? There's a swarm of them coming in, but it's just funneling them into the Wind of Death. So I'm already up to 700 kills. Well, more like 800, I guess. Looking at it, you can see that we have about 1800 units, and the enemy is going to bring in a lot more than what you can see there. They have about 8,000 units in all. You can see they've already got 3,400 fielded. So in terms of raw numbers, we are heavily outnumbered, but they're Skaven, so they're not exactly worth much. But look at this. Look at what they're doing. There must be thousands of units just wandering to their deaths here. The writhing mass of rats is going to feel the pain with that one. Up to 2,308 kills now. And you can see a lot of the rats are already wavering and trying to run. So of course, they don't have to run very far to be routed off the map here.
Using dirty magics.
Dirty magics indeed. There's not really a whole lot they can do. They haven't really got that many ranged units. And they've just got a spam of Skaven slaves. It's not going to help them. this was a Pyrrhic victory on the auto-resolve on the campaign map, but you'll see that it's a little bit different to that in reality. So we went from 2,308 to 3,165, so that was 850 kills in one. And already, their numbers are dwindling. You can see that they actually have about 7,500 men right now, which they could be bringing in. But they've already lost a lot of men. And there's more yet to lose. Mannfred's a really good caster with his Greater Arcane Conduit, gives him stronger spells, and also his Sword of Unholy Power, when I want to use it, gives me free wins. But I've actually found that as the vampire counts, they generate so much magic that it's not really necessary to have it. Here's another one. That was another 700 kills-ish there. And yet they're bringing in more and more men, dying the meat grinder. And you see these brave plague monks going alone in front of all of their reinforcements. They're going to be wanting to fight this garrison here. Again, we haven't lost a single unit yet, and they have lost nearly 4,000. And yet more filthy rats pour in. And they bring in their artillery now at last. Got some here and some there. Yeah, you can see there's more magic to be done. Look at the amount of Skaven there are here. Obliteration. My PC does not appreciate... Oh, 18 frames. Those particle effects and whatnot. Not very nice for the old PC performance. But there's more men gone. A lot of wavering going on as well. These Skaven slaves do not have the leadership to be dealing with that amount of loss in that amount of time. You see damage sustained minus 46. And Mannfred has lost a fair amount of health, but he's a vampire. He can recover that very easily. And at last, there's some engagements going on over here. Plague Monks and the Spawn of Tzeentch have made it to the garrison units, and they're going to be brawling. Meanwhile, Mannfred's going to be making his way back. The units are dispersing a bit now. Just imagine how differently this would have played out if instead of all reinforcing from the same spot, they reinforced from over here, say. There would be no funnel in which to murder them with Wind of Death. Speaking of Wind of Death, here's another one. It's not a great cast, but they were lined up quite nicely there, so we get about 200 kills. As for what's going on over here, the garrison is still holding out. These Spawn of Tzeentch are actually probably one of the most dangerous units they have, other than the artillery and the rattling gunners. Their weapon strength is pretty good. My White King is in there and is doing some damage though, which is going to help. And at the same time, Mannfred is going after these rattling guns. These are probably the next most dangerous thing. Just the amount of damage they can put out is just disgusting. You'll see this garrison. I'm not even sending in my troops over here. I don't think I need them, so I'm just going to let them deal with it right now. Another Wind of Death goes down. Funneled a little bit there. About 300 kills from that. Also quite decent. But Mannfred's back now, and he's going to be attacking Skaven slaves in the rear. While their artillery is finally online, and is going to be mostly attacking nothing, to be honest. Here they come. Here comes the Skaven swarm. It's not so much of a swarm anymore because we have more men than men. They just got butchered on the approach. You see, they have 9,000 men deployed, and we had about 1,850 at the start. So they had more than 4 times the amount of men, nearly 5 times the amount of men we did. Like I said before, Skaven slaves don't really count, because they're not going to be sticking around for long. They're not to be outdone by the Skaven. I'm basically saying goodbye to my own garrison here because they're clumped up so nicely around the garrison that I couldn't really resist another Wind of Death. But you see here, the brave Death Master Snitch is going in. He gets pushed back, but he uses his Weeping Blades, or whatever it's called, his AoE attack. And it does about 30 kills, which is pretty respectable, but at the same time their magic users are killing their own units, which is quite funny, I think. And now I see that these catapults are firing in, I want to take them out. They probably actually do more damage to their own units than mine, but I didn't like the idea of him living, so being a vampire, I kind of like the idea of death, so that's what we're going to do. You see them, what are they firing at? They're just firing at their own units, there's no doubt about it. So is their Warp Lightning. You see, they're trying to attack my garrison, but waste of time for them. I tried attacking in melee with Mannfred against these catapults, but to be honest, it's not really very effective. So instead I'm going to Wind of Death them. And I was actually very surprised at how well that worked, because all three of the catapults get shut down at once. I didn't think Winds of Death was that great against artillery, but it works there, that's for sure. It works a treat. Meanwhile, Death Master Snitch has killed himself, basically. Quite bravely attacking into my Graveguard, but it's not going to work out very well for him. But the AI actually does something smart for once, and uses Howling Warp Gale to pin down Mannfred. And they will do a bit of damage to him. And at the same time, lo and behold, they start casting magic on the enemy opponents. Well, what other opponents would there be? Enemy opponents is a bit redundant, but on the enemy. They start casting on the enemy. And I cast Wind of Death in return against these range units, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Another Warp Lightning comes in there. And Mannfred's coming back to try and land the lethal blow against the Death Master here, but he's going to start running away in true Skaven form. Yet they still insist on using magic against my garrison units. And can we talk about these absolute heroes, these heroes of the Soviet Union who are here? In classic Soviet style, I guess, just being cannon fodder for the magic and the monstrous units. These zombies, how are they still alive? 9 models for that one. 14 for this one. How have they survived for that long? It's a miracle. But you can see Warp Lightning is doing some damage. It's one of these, this one. He's up to 92 kills. He's doing a decent job of his magic, but the thing with the vampire counts that is so great is that you can just heal, resurrect, well, heal and resurrect dead combatants with their healing magic, so it's like their kills are for nothing, basically. Again, good cast, but it's not going to matter. So Mannfred's going to start getting involved against these lords soon. I'm actually trying to clump them into groups of 4 to overcast. Sure enough, there's the overcast invocation of the heck. Get some nice healing going. Combined with the Curse of Undeath, gives universal healing to all of my troops for a little while. And you see Mannfred's gone in to attack these lords, and as soon as he did that, armor losses kicked in. So all that's fighting now is the unbreakable Spawn of Zeech. And they're not going to win it for them. And now it's a case of trying to kill their lords so that they don't get any XP after this battle. Tried Gaze of Nagashing him, but it didn't really work out though. And that was quite a comprehensive beating on my part. And somehow these zombies are still around, although they are very much on the way out now, unfortunately. I don't believe they survive, which is a shame because they were very useful in just absorbing the damage which the Skaven were dealing. we can afford to speed up a bit here because this is pretty much over. You see I cast the Gaze and the Gash against the Death Master and I snipe him from far, which is quite good. And then we just go into melee against this generic Lord here. We're still trying to heal up our troops here because these Spawn of Tzeentch are actually still holding out. These Grave Guards should be quite good at dealing with them. But they're lasting longer than I anticipated. And at the same time, this Lord should be dead after another cast of Gaze and the Gash, right? Yep, he's gone. Which brings Mannfred up to 5,783 kills, which I'm quite convinced is the most amount of kills that I have achieved so far in this franchise with a single character. Just because of the amount of men they had. 9,245 men. The reason it says 3,385 for me is because it was counting the gas and that's full strength when that was not true. I don't know why I did that, but this is 1,616 is the amount of men in my army, essentially. And you can see that my healing has been quite effective too. My units were a little bit damaged before this battle even started, but they are back up to where they were, essentially. And all that's left now is trying to chase down this final race here, but he's going to escape. Luckily for him, that is that. Close victory with 0 kills from my actual army, and my settlement garrison got wiped out, as you can see. They did a very nice job of just halting the enemy and giving me a chance to use Wind of Death for my own units, basically. But you can see, like I said, Mannfred was the star of the show. The Mortis engine did some good damage as well, just because of its effect of doing damage to all enemies nearby when in melee. My actual units themselves, the Graveguard, didn't really do a whole lot, except for fight the Spawn. As for their side, well, these were useless. The best unit was definitely their Grey Seer, who did 116 kills. Which is commendable, but like I said, didn't help the minions, so I just healed straight through it. Death Master did 65, and the Spawn were okay, 79 and 44, and the Catapults did nothing. And this army was pretty useless, except for the Brood Horror, who did a bit of damage. But that is all she wrote for this one. This was just ridiculous, reminding me of how overpowered magic is in this game. Despite the way it changed, the damage is spread more evenly among units now, so you don't kill models necessarily as quickly, but it didn't seem to manifest itself in this game, as they immediately started dropping like rats the second I started attacking. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you in the next one.